Hi, this is Avonlea from House Marketing, and today I'll be interviewing Trenda on all things house and moving. And if you stay tuned till the end of this video, you'll get to find out how I know her. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So first, I'll start with telling us about your experience with moving. Have you moved a lot? Kind of what's your past with that?
We were in the military for 20 years, and by we, I mean my husband. And so we moved 14 times in 23 years. And so we have a lot of experience with the packing process and the unpacking and starting over.
Right. So I'm sure you're really efficient at it by now.
I like to think so, but maybe. You know, in the military, sometimes we would do the prep and they would come and move us. The movers would come. And then there's been other times, probably half of the moves that we moved ourselves.
So very different process.
Completely different experiences.
Gotcha, awesome. So what tips would you give for being efficient in packing and moving, since you've had experience on both sides of that?
Well, in both of those scenarios, they were very similar as far as the prep. I always started way ahead of time gathering supplies, and I tend to be frugal, and so a lot of times I would look on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, things like that to get secondhand boxes, because boxes are very expensive. Packing paper is even more expensive. So we would start in gathering things, then purging and organizing was a big step, because you never want to move things that you're not going to want to keep on the other end. Then I always started with decor, accessories, seasonal items, whether it be clothing or decor, things that we would not be using between the time we started packing and the move itself. That's pretty much label your boxes really well, so that when you get to the other side, you know what you want to deal with first.
What to get out first.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you talked about purging. So kind of like, what was your process for that? Were there certain categories of things that you purged, or was it just like, we're not using this and it doesn't matter what category it's in? How did that look for you guys?
Every one of our moves had been a different amount of time. Like some places we'd lived for a year, some places we'd lived for 6 years. So the purging was different each time. A lot of times it'd be random electrical cords that we held on to because we thought we're gonna find what this goes to. It might be just that we hadn't addressed clothes that they'd outgrown, the kids had outgrown.
Yeah.
So no, not necessarily different categories, just holding something and saying, have I used this in the last 6 months? Will I use it on the other side?
Right. So just making sure you don't like carry on what you're not gonna use next time. Awesome. So as you moved from one house and were going to another one, I'm sure this was different each time with where you were going. What were some things that you always looked for in a home that you were buying, if you got to make a solid decision on that? It wasn't influenced heavily by what the military allowed.
Well, and that's a good point, because a lot of times we didn't get a choice.
Okay.
They said in the military, our moves were usually either two categories. One was relocation with the military, and they told us where we were going, and pretty much sometimes we'd get an option between two different houses, which often were identical. So, and then the other moves that we did usually were change of life circumstances, whether the family was growing or kids were moving out or things like that. So when we did have an opportunity to choose, I chose mostly off of location. I know that's like, it's a cliche, they always say location, 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 but it is. It makes a big difference. Storage and just the possibilities. Like sometimes many of the homes we've lived in weren't what I would have chosen, but they had possibility.
Gotcha. So with location, what did you look for? Was it proximity to a school or like grocery store? Like what was that you looked for?
Every move was different then also. And as your life changes, your priorities and needs change. But yes, one of our homes we purchased in California was across the street from the school that the kids would be at. It was also in a very full community, and our yards were teeny tiny, and so there was a beautiful park across the street. So those were the two reasons we purchased that home, because it was across the street from a school, across the street from a park, and also that home we knew we'd be reselling. And so we purchased it knowing that it was a good deal. It would sell well on the other side.
Awesome. That's a great thing to think about if you think you're going to move again, for sure. So once you were like moved into each of your new homes, what tips would you give like a new homeowner for interior decorating? Because that can be really daunting, especially if you're a new homeowner and haven't moved a lot before.
Part of the way I've approached it is to find one piece that is kind of the point that everything else radiates off of, whether that be, I mean, it might be a piece of artwork or a blanket or something, and then and it just really speaks to me, and I love the aesthetics, and then I can find colors out of that or inspiration from that piece. Often too, ours is about what we already have, trying to reuse pieces that we love and want to hold on to. I have a dresser in my living room, but it's a piece that my mother and I refinished. It needs a lot. And so I wanted it to be a focal point. We don't put it in the bedrooms.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. So has each house carried on some of the same things, or has the decoration been pretty different based on like where you were at maybe in your life circumstances?
I would say both. I know that's not a very definitive answer, but because we moved so much, I wanted to maintain some continuity for the kids so that it did feel like home no matter where we were at. So yes, a lot of the same pieces that we have now, we've had for 20 plus years. And part of that is buying quality and buying wood, things that would hold up and that were durable to the moves. But no, and like our color palette has stayed the same, different shades of those same colors.
Yeah.
But no, it's been different. I used to have a lot when we married young, and I had a lot of very juvenile decor, what I would call juvenile, and it's matured and simplified over the years.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, and hopefully you all got some wonderful tips about all of these things. And now that you stayed all the way to the end of the video, Trenda is actually my mother-in-law, and she is a treasure. So I think you guys can see that through the video, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.